Welcome to the second ever The VoiceCast. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
My name is Sonia Figueroa, and with me we have...
David Famous. What's up? Do I look at the camera? I did already. Too late.
Too late. You messed it up.
You said it all like sexy though, David Famous.
That's right. That's how you say it. David Famous.
I'm Jonathan Reyes.
You're David Famous.
I'm Kaimana Gonzalez.
No middle name this time.
Ashlyn Kia.
There we go. There we go. This is episode 2. This season is called Summer Conversations. So we'll be continuing the conversation today. Cool?
Cool.
Okay, let's start off with this. What is the difference between cat people and dog people?
Well, I think cats are like evil, personally. Like, it's weird because cats, like, they're not like evil, but they're just not polite. They're like animals that are rude and selfish, in my opinion.
So cat people are rude and selfish?
What about cat people?
I think, yeah, there's a part of you that kind
evil.
of you can relate. So it's like, I want to keep this pet. Like, you think like
I was kind of going in that direction. Okay. I really was.
Take it away.
I think the difference between cat people and dog people, I think the difference is this. I think cat people want to be like cats in a sense. I think dog people don't necessarily want to be like dogs. I think that's the difference.
The only
between.
difference.
I think that's the difference
you
between
lost
them.
me.
Well, I'm saying I just think like every I think
Freud over here.
I think this every cat person to me has cat-like tendencies to themselves, and that is just like
Claws.
a preference to like be alone,
Likes fish,
which is not a problem. It's you're just introverted.
likes yarn.
But I also know a lot of introverted people who are dog people. So I just think that's the difference. I think cat people like the tendencies of cats. I think dog people, I don't know. I just think they like dogs. I think
They're
that's
just
it.
regular people.
They're nothing special about them.
Yep, they're normal.
I don't know. I don't hate cats. I think they're great. But I also think they do take on characteristics of their owners and vice versa. So the cat people I know at least are like, they tend to be like artistic and free thinkers. One, because like
I can see
a
that.
cat is really the less popular animal to get. So when you are a cat person, I'm like, oh, you're actually unique. Like
That's
you
true,
don't
yeah.
go
You
to
really like
Petland
that.
every day and play with the dogs and then leave the poor dogs there and you don't adopt them and it's awful.
Pretend
do
they're
that.
yours.
And then you think you're a dog lover.
Post
So
pictures.
Say name.
but then I feel like cat people probably could be more introverted, probably because of the independent thing. Because like cats, if you're looking for a pet to like be excited when you get home, you're in for a treat. You know, with a cat, you're just like, are they here?
Yeah.
So you probably are okay with that. You're not looking for as much affection.
I did have a bad experience with a cat growing up.
Yeah, me too.
So
Me
that
too.
kind of like, it like blocked my way out of the room and it like hissed at me. So I had to run up on the bed and I was just like screaming. And then I just,
One of my uncles had like this little mini farm thing. It's actually like, it's not too far from here.
Farm.
Yeah, so it's not a real farm, right? There's not like all these animals everywhere, but there's animals everywhere.
Okay.
So there were cats.
Not all these though.
No,
but
there's
they
no
are.
like, okay, no
So
cows.
he had pets.
Pet chickens?
So
I
he had
guess.
a
I
lot
don't
of
know.
pets.
I don't know if he sold the chickens. I don't know what he did. But it was like this farmland or whatever. Anyways, there's a lot of cats that went around and a lot of roosters as well. But the first experience with a cat ever, I was so scared when this happened. It bit my arm, but it like wouldn't let go. And so I like pulled my arm up and it was like hanging off of my arm, biting it.
Oh, wow.
And eventually it dropped off. And I was like so scared to tell anybody that I just didn't tell anybody.
Wow. Oh
So that has been simmering in here since I was a
It was
child.
a cat, like a house cat. It wasn't like a cheetah or a panther.
I don't
It was
know.
a bobcat.
I really don't remember. It looked pretty
A
like
jackal?
clean. So
a raccoon.
Clean. It was
maybe
clean.
it was a raccoon. No, I'm just kidding. It was definitely a cat.
Jackal.
But that's my only experience with cats and my first experience.
I don't know.
I mean,
my grandma had a real farm. Still does.
Not a mini one?
It was not a
we
mini
go.
farm. She had a real
real
farm.
farm.
She had the animals, not just all the animals.
She had
It was like three
all the
different
animals.
Okay.
And so me and my brother, when we would go stay there, like in summers and stuff, we would like tame the feral cats. And when they had kittens, we would like not trap them, but we would kind of trap them like in a little dog crate. And then we would like tame the kittens. So it was like so cute and fun. And then every time we'd go back to my grandma's house, we'd be like, Blue, because we had a blue kitty. We'd be like, Blue kitty. And she would come to the porch and
that's
just hang
nice.
out with us.
Wow.
I don't
Tame
know.
the
Like,
feral cat.
I know that's actually a
That sounds
good
like a book
experience with
title.
cats.
and then I
Wow.
also was like attacked by like a pack of puppies once, but I still hate dogs. Like I was scarred for a while,
through a
but
lot, yeah.
I don't hold
Yeah.
it against them.
That's
Okay, let's play a game really, really quick. Everybody has dag.
Everyone has a
cat.
dag.
I'm from
Pets.
Boston. Dag and cat cards in front of them. So we are going to vote to what we think each other are. Got it?
okay,
We're
yeah.
going to vote on.
Word.
So You're gonna know who you are, hopefully, in Jesus' name.
Remember who you are.
But we're gonna say what we think you are with our card and give a reason why.
Okay.
And then you're gonna say what you think you are. But the card has to be like
Oh,
already out.
okay.
You can't like change your mind.
Okay.
If we start making sense.
I don't know who I am yet. I'm just kidding.
Figure
I
it
know
out.
who I am.
But
I know who I am.
I know who I.
Okay.
Okay.
You go one at a time, or
Yes. Who wants to go first?
I'll go, I guess.
Okay.
Okay.
I would say you're a dog person.
Okay.
'Cause
Why?
I don't think you would call yourself evil.
Good answer.
Okay. I would say he's a cat person, and
Okay.
mainly because I've never seen you freak out about dogs and really actively like dogs.
So that makes me a cat.
You're also
person.
very to yourself sometimes.
Okay.
I think that's why.
You don't know
You're
me
also
at all.
evil.
Maybe not.
he
I would
said.
say you're a cat person.
Okay.
But I don't think you are a cat person.
Okay.
But you're
Ooh.
very independent and to yourself and very, very sensitive.
Okay.
That's good.
Well, thank
And
you.
you
That's
love
good.
yarn.
See, that's what I meant by.
So
And you purr
when
when I pet you.
do it. I don't know if I can,
Can
do that
you?
on camera.
Oh, but you can. Yeah.
I can roll my R's.
Oh, same thing. Yeah, well,
That's not a very
it's
good
not
roll.
Really a purr,
It's not a
though.
good roll.
It's not a purr though.
Yeah.
It's like the cowardly lion.
Okay. Well. hey.
Anyways, go ahead. What are you?
I put cat to fake you guys out because I'm a liar and I'm really a dog
Oh, wow.
person.
You
That's
can't
a very
fake us
cat
out.
thing to do.
I think
Change
she's
your
right.
vote.
You think
Change
you're a
your
dog
vote.
person, but you're
Cat.
really a cat
I mean,
person.
I might agree with that. Like, I've only lived with dogs before, and I love boxers because they're really smart. And like one of my friends, he had a boxer named Ollie, and he was huge, and he could open doors and turn on like the sink faucet
Oh,
when he
wow.
was thirsty
Pretty
and turn it off. So I was like, I want a smart dog. So
What a buddy.
dog person.
Okay, I'm next. You guys vote.
Let's go.
This is easy.
Okay. I guess I'll go first. Oh,
Too
you got it?
late. Pastor Sonia's for sure a cat person. First of all, I know she loves cats, but also she's independent, artistic, all the things that we said.
And
about
I
cat
love
people.
Jesus, and he's the Lion of Judah.
That's true. And cats come from.
Dog.
Dog, cat, dog. What is it?
There it is.
You can't change your answer.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. See, I'm proud.
You
I'm,
we
the
did
no,
it.
I promise you.
You heard the shuffle of the papers.
That ruins
No, 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 no.
everything.
Listen, I'm proudly incorrect. Okay, I put dog.
No, but why?
I thought you were a dog person primarily. I knew
You thought
you liked.
she was a dog person?
Yes, I knew you liked both, but I thought you liked dogs more.
Why?
Because you're. I don't know. I feel like
Because
you
I'm
like
nice
that.
and cuddly and
Look,
loving.
we've done many productions at our church. I've never seen a cat in a production. I've seen a dog several
Cats
times.
wouldn't want to be
Yeah,
in a
you couldn't
production.
coach
See?
a cat.
Why would you like that if you write productions? So I thought she was a dog person. There you go. So I put all that math
That's a
together in
lot
my
of-
head real
okay.
I'll
quick.
take
I
it.
don't know her
I
at
mean,
all.
I'll take it.
I too voted cat
Well.
because cats.
Because I'm evil.
Well, no, because I know you like cats. So I knew that. But I just feel like, yeah, cats can kind of like take care of themselves, but like they'll let you take care of them when you want to at the same time. So it's like, be like, no, go do your own thing. But it's like, okay, never mind. I love you now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm an animal person, but I
Yeah.
am a cat. If I had to pick, had them first. They've always been nice, trained them, loved them, dressed them up. They were always with us, always loving, cuddling. They would wait for me at the door. So they're awesome.
Man.
Until they take over the world.
But then they'll be nice to her because she doesn't think they're
You-
evil.
We're
Exactly.
nice
I don't
to
think
her.
anyone is evil. I would take an iguana. There's only one animal I cannot stand is a tree lizard. They freak me out.
Okay.
I don't know what to do with them. I can't squish them. Whatever. Spiders, roaches, all about it. Tarantulas, snakes.
Okay.
Give them to me. I will kiss them, love them, hug them.
Tarantulas?
Yeah, they're awesome.
Oh my.
I would rather a tarantula than a roach.
Yes.
I would rather neither.
If I see a roach, I'm just
You
out
don't
of the
want
house.
some
No.
roaches for your
Till it's
birthday?
gone.
Just no
I might go
bugs,
roach over
man.
tarantula.
Well,
Okay. Okay. Vote for Jonathan.
Oh,
What am I?
Well, first and foremost, I
am
know
I?
that you're a dog person.
okay.
Why?
I
Explain.
feel like if you were a cartoon character, you would be a dog because you just have dog tendencies and characteristics about you. I feel like you're a very loyal person. So, yeah, that's really all I got. Yeah, I just feel like you'd be
Solid.
a cartoon dog.
Okay.
A loyal cartoon dog.
Okay.
The crazy part is I think you're also a dog person, and I do think the cartoon thing is a thing, and
I'd
I
be
don't know
lying
why.
If I said I didn't agree.
Like,
I
if
actually see
picture
it.
you,
I do.
I'm just
I
like
don't know.
one of those big, you can't see his eyes. It's like
Okay,
hair
whoa.
there, and he's
Yeah.
just
I don't know
like
about that.
Like a
sweet,
goofy
Dirty
movie.
and
cuddly.
smelly and messy.
And just not a good dog in
You're
general.
right on
Like
the
a bad
money.
dog. Like,
Missing an
I
eye.
think you're nice and soft.
Okay, I could see it.
Warm.
Kaimana.
I mean, I'll say dog, but
Wow.
he is the least dog person ever.
Okay.
Because
What do you
I
mean by that?
remember him being like, I don't get why dogs are such a big deal. And I was just so floored.
Oh my gosh, if he picks
Because
cat,
they are a
I'm
big
giving
deal.
you a raise.
You're gonna hear the shuffle of the.
Don't shuffle it.
No
Please.
shuffle,
We have to
no
put the card
shuffle.
on top.
My answer is dog.
Oh man.
My answer is dog. Now, to be fair, I don't really get why pets in general are such a big deal.
Okay.
I can't
but,
believe you.
But I do understand having a nice dog to come home to who just loves you and runs, towards you when you get home. I can see how I'm kind of a dog, I guess. Just like
Rough.
I'm a dog.
I'm a
Rough,
dog.
baby.
I mean, no, I don't know. I just have a lot of energy. I feel like I have energy when there are people around. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like that's how dogs are.
Overly
So I feel like
excited easily.
yeah,
Panting.
yeah.
For anything.
Just like running out of
Colors,
breath just 'cause people in
tennis
the room.
balls.
No, but yeah,
Your whale
definitely
starts-
dogs.
The
Your whale, your
mailman.
tail starts
It's-
wiggling.
It's not even anything about cats. Like to me, cats are just they're cool, and if you find the right one, it's the right one. But dogs, I don't know. I more identify
Sound like
with
using
dogs.
love if you find
Okay.
the right one.
No, it's not
You'll
for
find the
cats.
right one.
Absolutely
Next, we will start with you, Jonathan Kaimana.
not. Dog.
Why?
Dog person.
Dramatic entrance.
I just don't think I've ever heard her talk about a cat, ever. Not even in a negative, like it's just not even on the radar. But then also, I just know that her dogs are her children, and so that is a dog person if I've ever seen one.
Okay. Yeah.
I would say she's a cat person because
Interesting.
she's independent and loves to take naps more than anyone I've ever met in my whole entire life. And
wanna
she
take a
can
nap
nap
right now.
anywhere.
That is a skill.
I never thought of it that
Anywhere.
way.
I'm jealous
really
of
can.
No
anyone
matter
who can do
what,
that.
she can do it. So I know that she loves dogs, but I would have to say if I was to turn her into a cartoon, it'd be a kitty.
Well, I can see that.
If we're just turning people into cartoons,
what we're doing.
Can we do that, God? Okay.
No.
I would say dog as well as Jonathan because I feel like I don't know, they bring out a cuddly side, and you just want to I don't know, dress them up, take
Yeah.
them out, like
Yeah.
I don't know, just
Just like me.
I can't picture Kia dressing up a dog.
You
I
don't do
could.
that?
I think I could on Easter.
Well, maybe not like not
think
like
I could.
crazy dress up,
Easter's
but like
not even a costume holiday.
like have fun with
You
the
just dress
harness.
nice.
Like I think you like to like buy the stuff for the dog, like the accessories and a nice cute harness. And what's your dog name? Max, right? That's one of your dogs.
And Muffin.
And Muffin. Yeah. I seen a picture of Max and he looked really happy. So I was like,
Aw, he's
you're
happy.
taking care of your dog. So.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a dog person for sure, but I do love cats. And if
Oh, I
Gio
didn't know
wasn't
that.
allergic deathly to cats, we would have a cat already.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
not know
because
that
I do.
either.
I love cats. I think they're awesome. I
Gio's
love
keeping
all-
you from being who you're supposed
Yeah,
to be.
I know. I found like a cat that got abandoned in our neighborhood, our old neighborhood, and I took
Oh.
care of her and stuff.
Wow.
But I do like to hold Max like he's a baby,
Mm-hmm,
like this, and he just lets me. And he's like this.
Yeah.
Not Muff.
That's nice.
No, Muffin is like
A cat?
the cat version of a dog.
That's
She's
awesome.
like, I'm good.
have one
See you
of each.
later.
Oh, you're home? Okay.
It's very much like
That
that's a
thing.
lot of rejection.
Okay, let's continue the conversation. The
Yes.
topic for this episode is called boundaries. So we're going to be talking about boundaries,
Okay.
and we are not necessarily going to be talking about dating boundaries because I think a lot of people we use the word boundaries and they think, oh, dating, what I can do, what I cannot do,
Right.
sexual purity, blah blah blah. No, we get it.
Psych.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
Nobody pure.
Just be pure. Amen.
Amen.
Yes, yes,
But
amen.
we're going to talk about just other boundaries that we have in our lives. So, first off, how would you define boundaries, not dating ones? How would you define it?
It's really hard to define boundaries without using the word boundaries. I'm like, they're just some boundaries.
Right.
So my other word would be like little safeties that
Okay.
you just set up in between you and other people and you and organizations and you and your job, basically everyone but the Lord.
Yeah.
It's just little safety checkpoints that you have to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Good definition.
I
Anybody
think-
want to add to that?
I think like soccer, like there's yellow flags and red flags. And so like a yellow flag is something that like you'll draw caution to because if left unchecked, it could become a red flag. And then red flags are like deal breakers, no go. That is, you've crossed the line, you've gone too far, point of no return type vibe. So
That's cool.
Yeah, so just defining boundaries for me, I think it's this, like in my own life personally, I know kind of like I mean, every person knows themselves, and they know like little indicators of like, okay, now that's gone in a direction where I fill in the blank, can't be as effective or can't do what I'm supposed to do, whatever. So boundaries are basically before ever getting to that point saying, okay, if that indicator shows up, that's just showing that I'm going in a direction where I shouldn't be going.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically, to me, an indicator that, okay, I know myself, and in this area, I need that sign to say, okay, too far, let's go back in the other direction.
That's cool.
I think as a whole, we probably all agree that most boundaries are good. They're healthy to have.
Yeah.
Do you ever think that they become unhealthy? Is there any unhealthy boundaries that we could possibly have?
I think so. I don't know. I just think like we can set up boundaries for good and wrong reasons.
Okay.
Like I can set up certain boundaries because, because of biblical standards or whatever, or I can set up boundaries to intelligently and in a smart way not get hurt like I was in the past, something like that. However, in my opinion, you can set up a boundary for a selfish reason as well. You can set up a boundary for, I don't know, you can chalk it up to, okay, I don't want to give too much time to other people. I want to work on myself. Like that's a boundary that if you're really looking at it through the right lens, like, oh, you have selfish motives behind that. And you can call it a boundary. And it is technically a boundary.
Okay.
But I don't think it's a good one. I don't think it's a healthy one. That's just an example. I think there's a million ways you can set unhealthy boundaries and just act like they're healthy.
I feel like some unhealthy ones. I know some people that it's they tend to be more on the quote lazy side.
Right.
So then they're just like, oh yeah, I have to learn how to start saying no, and I'm like, nah, son, you got to say yes like
Right.
once in a while. So they use the term, I got to say no. I don't want to get burnt out. I need to take a break, and those are just excuses for them not to be everything they know they're supposed to be.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they've let that like fear or anxiety of the unknown keep them down. And they use like the right words. So
Yeah.
then we're just like, oh, okay, we respect your
Right.
space. Yes, you have to be wise. And it stinks because no one can get into that boundary because
Right.
they've drawn it there, and then it's like, I can't challenge you or help you.
Yeah.
But they just, they fall under the category, you're lazy. You should never say no. You need to say
Yeah.
yes all the
Right.
time.
I think like it makes me think of like relationship wise, not dating, but friendships. Like, I don't know. I just know some people who genuinely do not have any friends. They're just like, I don't have anyone I can trust. It's either like my mom or my boyfriend. You know what I mean? It's like, there's just no one. They don't have any friendships. And I'm just like, man, a lot of the time it's because they're like, well, I don't trust anyone. I don't trust anyone. It's raining. I got distracted. They feel like they can't trust anybody. And it's usually because they've been hurt. It's
Right.
usually because, and so instead of dealing with it, they've just like, well, I have a lot of boundaries
Right,
with people. I have a lot of
exactly.
boundaries with people. And I'm like,
Exactly.
yeah, but at this point, it's not really a boundary. It's like a brick wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're causing yourself to live an isolated life.
Yeah.
And that's not what boundaries are for.
Right.
So.
Exactly.
I think my short version on that, there are unhealthy boundaries. It's the type of, when you set that boundary saying something like, this is just the way I am. I think that's an unhealthy boundary because then it doesn't open the room for God to work on a part of you that you've like positioned it to only be you forever, and
Yeah.
nobody can say anything to change that.
At that point, you
Yeah.
should set up a boundary in the other direction,
Right.
saying like, oh, if I'm feeling so introverted or so cutting off from people, that's like, oh, I need to set a boundary
Yeah.
there, a
Yeah.
forced amount of time to interact with other people
Yeah.
and to break that bad habit. So that's
Yeah.
a good
That's
point.
the only thing I could think of that would be an unhealthy boundary, is just kind of anything that would
Keep you
stop.
stuck,
Yeah,
sort of.
where you can tell yourself or rationalize in your mind that like you don't have to change.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
not changing would be the best thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think that.
Yeah,
would-
that's
I agree.
that's a
That's
scary
true.
place to be at.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the difference between being a private person and being like a sneaky, shady person? Because I feel like there's a lot of people. I'm private. I'm not going to go to a small group. I'm private. I'm not going to go to the altar. I'm private. What's the difference between that and then someone who's like for real, like compromising, or is just shady, sneaky?
You might have a secret life.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, yeah.
You private or you shady?
I mean, I'm a little bit of both. You know what I'm saying? Catch me on Tuesday. No, I'm just kidding.
I just think that like maybe it does come down to like an integrity thing, because I am thinking of like people I know who are private, and I'm like, oh, you broke your leg and you didn't tell anyone, you know, and I'm like, that's would be good to know about you, or there's certain things that they don't talk about that I'm like, oh, that's kind of private. I would think that maybe you would share that, but they have integrity in their life. So in my head, I'm like, oh, well, that's just private. That's their family stuff. That's private to them. But then there's, people too that their integrity has been compromised, and they're kind of known for just living on, you know, maybe both sides of the good and bad spectrum. So then in my heart, when I hear that, you know, something, or they don't want to talk about something, my immediate reaction is like, oh, well, it's probably because it's shady. Like, you're probably just trying to keep up a certain kind of facade that you have. And then you're only telling no one, or, you know, the one person who says everything you do is okay.
I think it would go off of like what you're willing to volunteer. You know what I'm saying? I think some people are just more reserved in nature, so they don't necessarily volunteer their business, but they're not hiding it, if that makes
like
sense.
if you went up and asked them and you're like, hey, I really want to, you know,
like,
whatever, they would tell you.
They would feel free to volunteer it at that moment. But some people are just kind of like, nah, I don't feel the need to just say it. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the difference between being private and shady. I think like when you're private, you kind of just keep it to yourself, but like you're not keeping it from people, if that is a way of putting it. So
what's the difference between being open and being too open? We'll go on the other side of the spectrum. Open and being too open. Because I feel like as believers, as Christians, we should be open to change and people and opportunity and all that cute stuff. But is there such a thing as being too open?
Too open.
I feel I've encountered this particularly with the female gender. I could tell sometimes that they sit there, they'll find someone and they will tell somebody everything, especially of the male gender. That's how I know.
Yeah.
And they're just like
Shady.
this and explain everything all the time, open up too much stuff. And I think as a whole, I think God created men and women. So I think women know women and men know men. Right. So when you genuinely need advice and connection, when it comes to personal habits, I think a woman should go to a woman and a man should go to a man. Yeah. So whenever I see a female and they go and they talk to a man, I'm like, she doesn't really want advice. She wants something else. And then all at that point, they just become open and it's just crazy. So it always boggles me when men don't see that. Yeah. And I'm like, oh. Or when women just do that, I could tell them, like, if you really, from a woman to a woman, like, we know, just like men to men, like, you know, right away, like men, you guys don't even have to have a lot of conversation. You could say 2 sentences and you're like, whoo, I did good. We confessed all our issues and we can move forward. So I always think when I see that with those super serious conversations in my mind, I'm like, you're too open. You're broken. You need to
very
fix
interesting.
that.
I've never thought about that. Well, like what? Well,
yeah, because you're a man. Yeah, because like you don't think of it
like I just have really close friends, and she feels she trusts me. Exactly. Oh, Santo.
You might be onto something.
Help us, God.
And
then they just divulge too much information.
Exactly.
And then it's like, she shouldn't be telling you that because that's coming out of her brokenness.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it comes down to motivation, which is, you know, like I know people who are really open, but I don't ever feel burdened by them telling me stuff about their life, even if it's like bad, because they're just an open person, and I'm like, wow, I almost admire them. I'm like, wow, I wish I would like share this much about my life, because you're very, you know, open. But I know like they're healthy, they have healthy relationships. Then there's the other people that a lot of times people who are too open are the people who are like, I don't trust anyone, I don't open up to anyone, and then I've had people come up to me and tell me all this stuff about themselves, and I feel super overwhelmed and like super burdened, and then they hit me with you're the only one who knows this, you know, I don't know why I feel like I can trust you, and I'm like, why? You just met me, I don't understand why I'm trustworthy. But then there's sort of a manipulation tactic there where it's like, well, now I feel indebted and burdened to them because I'm the only person who knows this stuff about them. But then I usually find out there's a lot of only people that know that stuff about them, and I'm like, oh, so this is like an act like kind of thing, and it's more of a manipulative motivation than anything.
That's, to me, like that's where I just really need discernment in my own life, is when somebody's kind of sharing information with me along like important heavy lines, if it's important heavy information, because there have been times where like I can get information from somebody, and it can't even be something I wasn't expecting. Like that happens, you know what I mean? Maybe we don't, or I didn't think we had that deep of a relationship, and I'm getting this information, but I can see and discern that they really do just trust me, and maybe, you know, this is connecting with something I've been through, and maybe there's a real connection there. But I've also seen other scenarios where I've been given information, or maybe it's like me and I know for a fact other people know this information too. And the discernment over this person that's sharing it, it's more along the lines of like a fleshly, they're getting some, it goes back to the opposite gender thing.
Right.
There's something that you're getting that is not what you're acting like you want to get. You're getting some sort of, you're getting a little bit of maybe pity, you're getting a little bit of like ability to gossip about someone else. And you have to, as a person who, who's maybe listening to this, if you are self-aware enough to identify that maybe you've fallen into those tactics, like you've got to break that off. You've got to understand like, whoa, okay, I've been able to hide behind the idea of, oh, I'm getting counsel, or I'm getting wise, whatever. Yeah. But truly it's been this fleshly desire to get pity or whatever the case may be. And there's a little bit of proof in the fact that you're going to an opposite gender to get that.
Well, I think like you said, it really all like hinges on if that person is self-aware, because I don't think
the person talking or the person listening.
Well, the person talking.
Yeah. Okay.
So openness, like I don't think you can ever be too open if you are self-aware. Okay. Because then you're not unaware of what you're saying. And I know that sounds like super simple.
And the consequences,
or like what you might look like in that
you know
context.
what I'm saying? Like you can be as self-aware to a degree of how you're coming off or how you're speaking or whatever the case may be. And I think if you're sharing something, like self-awareness would say, like, am I really trying to figure this out? I'm probably not going to just go talk to a girl about it because they won't necessarily see where I'm coming from. I'm going to go talk to my like accountability or my bros or something like that. Like self-awareness would kind of help you with that spectrum of just figuring out. But then, for some people who aren't as self-aware, like that's where those tendencies come from, because then they're just kind of like there's something they're fishing for, and they may not even know it. So it may just be like habitual, something that they just keep doing because it's a cycle of what like kind of dulls the pain or like
and they're not even thinking about it.
Yeah, it's just a norm, a habit they may have developed. But then you would also just take time in prayer and your quiet time to like reveal those tendencies. So you could have healthy openness with people rather than just kind of like a toxic relationship with multiple people.
Right. And I think sometimes that's what people settle for is like toxic relationships when they don't have good relationships, you know, like when people are they rather than like putting in the time to form a deep friendship. Cause again, like, I don't know, the nature of the ministry profession, I get that people are going to come confess stuff to me and whatever, but there's just times when people are talking, I'm like, man, I would like only tell this to my best friend. Yeah. Like I would only say this. And so it breaks my heart, but I'm just kind of like, maybe you feel like you can trust me because of the ministry thing, but I also think it's just because I will listen to you and you don't have any good friendships around you
like
where
you had people
right. Like I wish you had someone besides me to talk to this about because at the end of the day, like it's just a different form, but I think people would rather just go to a pastor or go to a therapist or go to whatever than like just talk like it out with
a relief,
right. Just like a one time, like I need an ear and then I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need more than that, though. That's what, it's good to have your, all relationships are super valuable. Like we all need a mom and a dad and an aunt and a teacher and a grocery store butcher, and for
gotta
us
love
to
him.
like meet and connect. So sometimes that leader fills that role. I confess to you, but they're not necessarily going to walk the daily walk like someone with you, like a friend.
And so that's also when you can kind of lie to them. Because you're like, well, I only see you once a week, so
I'm not going to hold you accountable.
Check up on me. Right. Or are you only at the Voice? Our leaders do the most. Amen. God bless y'all.
That's good.
Okay. Where should one draw the line? You guys, as leaders, as friends, as whatever it is your relationship, where should you draw the line? Time-wise, space-wise, social media-wise, where do you draw the line?
I don't.
NF concise.
No boundaries.
No, I'm just kidding. I draw the line. David. I draw the line. I was just playing. I mean, off rip, like for social media, I think that's the easiest place, like to draw the line, but it's the most difficult place to draw the line because you're crossing it when you have to like think, it's like, should I post this? At that point, it's like, no. You know what I'm saying? The answer is no, but most of the time we're just like, well, it's just social media. Unfollow me then. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we'll throw those things out there. And I also think it like with that, if it's just like a quick fix, like, I don't know, like I make fun of people sometimes who post quotes, but like then they they rather revel in like the brokenness of the situation than actually fixing the problem that the quote spoke to. Like, I don't know. I just think it's like funny when it's ironic because it's like, well, it's been like 5 years that you've been like posting quotes about like broken relationships or like toxic people in your life. And it's like,
should probably try to
you know what I'm
fix
saying?
that.
Like, fix it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Don't just post these about it.
Yeah.
But it's always funny. So keep doing it so I can laugh. But like, but get fixed. Get help.
Don't heal.
No,
Don't get
don't.
better.
But yeah, so with social media, I think the line is very easy to like figure out. Like, it's just that when you have that, I also have a couple people who I might like, they're my filter personally. I'm like, yo, I'm thinking about posting this, and like, what you think? And then they're just like a mere like good counsel. It's just friend. It could be anything light. It doesn't always have to be deep. But just so it's like, hey, you might look like this if you post this. I don't think you don't need to post that. You can get away with not. You know what I'm saying? So
I feel like social media, if it becomes anything other than just literally sharing some good times in your life, I just feel like you've gone too far.
Yep.
You know, I see people post on social media, and my thought is always like, did you text this to a friend first? Like,
Right.
did you text your friends who I know are your friends, like, about how broken and alone you feel? Because oh my gosh, I remember when Tumblr was like a big thing. That was like the place for emo kids to go.
Yeah.
Like,
Still is.
I would hang out with my, friend, and then 5 minutes later I'd see on their Tumblr, they'd be like, feeling so alone, no one loves me. And I would call them or text them and be like, didn't we just hang out?
Hey,
What?
just finished
I'm
having
your
ice
friend and I'm
cream.
reading this. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But it was more for attention. It was that dramatic thing. And I'm like,
almost always.
I can't stand when I see that, because I'm like, you do have people who would rather get this text and then they can help you rather than the anonymity of social media.
Transparency though with that, is it always the case when it comes to like the revealing of yourself on social media?
I just think if you're saying, okay, 600, 700, 800 people look at this issue, at that point I'm like, okay, you care more about the display of the issue than the resolution of the issue, because
Okay.
your first priority is to make sure everyone knows what's going on. 99% of those people aren't going to help you solve it, but let me make sure they know. Come on.
But they'll post a comment and be like, keep fighting the good fight.
Right.
Keep
I don't
doing
Right.
you.
Yeah, I guess I think it's, unless you're inviting people to church and it's kittens, I don't think it should be on there. My
Kittens,
only
too. Or
thing,
dogs.
like if it's super, like if someone was like really sick, like life or death, cancer, something, and I'm
Yeah.
like, yo, hey guys, my dad's in the hospital. I need people to pray.
Yeah.
I think I would post that probably on Facebook or something. I'm like, because
Yeah.
let's go. Let's pray.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
asking for
It's
prayer.
real.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Something like that. I probably wouldn't sit
Right.
there and divulge. But that's obviously that's an extreme. But I think besides that, if you genuinely want help, you would never put it on social media because that is more of a show than it is actual like help.
That's just how I see it.
It's true. Because even then you would be polishing it up to like present it for
Right, because are you really, even if someone random DMs you, are you really gonna like take what they have to say to you to heart? Are you really gonna be like, you helped me through this time?
Yeah.
You're not gonna.
So what about time-wise and space-wise? Where should you draw the line?
So like I've noticed with people who are going through stuff or who just want friends, whatever the case, like I've noticed, and I've seen this in myself in the past, and I've seen it in other leaders as well, even ones I look up to, we'll provide, a place, a safe place for somebody who's our friend or maybe a new friend or whatever to come to and to like, okay, let me know your problems, let me know what's going on. And then here's what happens. Instead of, giving them, the best wise counsel we can and directing them, biblically in the right direction, and then letting them go to have like the thing we all believe in and that is real, which is the Holy Spirit to console them and to actually change things. Instead of that, we just an unpolished, person who's trying to minister might just literally allow that person to be with them 24/7.
Yeah.
Always be with them.
Yeah.
Like I'm your link for the solution to this issue.
Yeah.
It really, like, I just more prefer to look at it as like a little trampoline. Like, okay, here you go, and then now you've got a boost to go into the right direction.
Yeah.
In prayer and reading your word. And I've just seen it too many times where younger students, even older, adults would just find peace or whatever in that relationship, and it's just on top of it being not practical, it's not healthy emotionally.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I can't, not only do I have to go work a job that you can't follow me to, even if you could follow me to it, you're not attached to a source that can actually fix your problem.
Yeah.
So I've seen that a lot, and so I don't know if there's a specific, I think once I see
Is that like space or time? Like, are you?
It's a little bit of both.
Hopefully both.
Yeah.
yeah, so that's why I wanted to give that example, because it is both. But once I see that, like, that dependence reached that, and
Codependence,
yeah, completely. And then there's not even talk of like what God's going to do to fix this situation or how we can trust Him. That's when I draw the line, and I'm like, oh, this is an issue.
I think whenever you're at anyone's beck and call, you know, like if they are your top, aside from like maybe a spouse or like a sick parent, like if you are just waiting for someone to call you and you're waiting for them to tell you what we're doing tonight, what we're doing tomorrow, if you feel like you can't make plans independent of another person, like if you just feel really a tie to someone who's not like your spouse, then I would be like, yeah, it's probably gone a little too far here.
It's unhealthy.
It's tough. Yeah, I agree. I think in my own personal experience, I think it's like, I don't know, it's weird because you guys are all right, but like the person who is like not aware that they're doing that, like they're gonna think that it's what they should do.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they're gonna think this is, or maybe it's something that was modeled for them, so like they're gonna like follow suit in that. But it's like my like how I am, I'm very cut and dry. Like when I recognize those things, like I just put people on blast. Like I'll tell them, I'll be like, yo, I can't do this for you. You know what I'm saying? Like I really like you gotta take some time to figure this out on your own. Like we just hanging and you not fixing it. You know what I'm saying? Like I love you, but like, you know what I'm saying? So
there's even that codependency, but you're right. But like as believers and as Christians or as leaders or whatever, like if we know better, we have to be like, it's okay. Go to this small group without me. Or go ahead. Go to this mission trip without me. You're good. Text me later. You know, but the fact when it's just so like your salvation or coming to church, if they're not at church, they don't come.
That's
right. Because the worst thing is to sit by yourself at church
for someone else.
Like, and that's just crazy.
Good.
Do you guys, or have you ever had, or you currently have anyone suck the life out of you?
Jonathan.
Wow.
I love him.
I have an example. There's been different people, but one person in my mind I'm thinking about. There's been times that
say their name.
No. There's been times it's crazy that this person kind of has a certain issue, the same issue, but they'll come up and they'll tell this leader, and then they'll tell this leader, and then they'll tell this leader, and they'll tell this leader, and every time they present their issue to the leader, they're going, you're the only one I've told, help me. And a lot of times they go after new leaders. So 9 times out of 10, every single time, the leader will email the church and will say, no one's ever helped this person. The church has failed. This is why the church is horrible. And I'm just like, sigh, here we go again. I'm like, no,
they're on our top 10.
This person, this is what
fully aware.
They're broken, they're whatever. They just know how it works, and they kind of, and I say this lovingly, they kind of take advantage of new leaders. So I think it is important, when we get those dramatic conversations. We even had that before. Was it during Tidal Wave when you texted me like, hey, I had this dramatic conversation, and I was like, oh, thank you for making us aware. We already know we got it. So it's cool to approach your leadership or your accountability. Hey, this is going on. What do you think? Not right away attacking the institution or the church. It's like, well, they just hate everyone. No, we don't. Like believe the good first, assume the good, and then approach. Before that person, I don't know, just starts carrying weight, but that person, they can like suck the life out of leaders, out of people, and it could break them. And then they don't want to minister at the altars or don't want to have those serious conversations. And we need people like praying and connecting and having those solid conversations.
I think the fact that you're bringing up the new leader thing is part of the reason why I would say maybe I haven't experienced that, because I just think it was a certain amount of time and training into my ministerial leadership where maybe that was about to happen and I knew better. But I think I definitely resonate with what you're saying about that kind of hitting new leaders, because kind of the new church leader doesn't know any better, and then this person just has access to this new church leader, so it's like it kind of clicks, and then both people end up kind of getting hurt in that situation, because a newer person in a position of leadership experiencing something like that might assume that that's how it always is,
right? And
that is awful.
So to be a good leader, they want to, you know.
Yeah, they want to be there. They want to help.
It's like a golden opportunity
the
for a leader.
Thinking like this is how a leader should be.
Yeah. Or I have to spend 24/7 with this person.
Like they don't have any friends and no one else.
This is what leadership. This is the mantle. This is the weight of it.
I think I would have definitely fallen into that trap. But again, I think I had already known better by the time I had experienced maybe my first person who was trying to leech on a little bit and get something they weren't supposed to get from me, but instead from God.
Haven't you guys ever been taken advantage of? He says no. Have you guys ever been taken advantage of? Time, money?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Time, money.
Yeah,
Which
time. And yeah, it was mainly time because I thought I was walking through with this person what they like to help them like with what they needed, but
Yeah.
really they were just it was like I was like a pacifier. Like I wasn't really actually helping them. I was really just a distraction. So like I was like to take up their time, like when they didn't want to think about it or work on it, they're like, oh, okay, well, I'll just hit them up and just talk about it or blah, 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 or
Yeah.
just hang out, like, you know what I'm saying? And then it got to a point where anytime I would actually bring up like how are things going? How's this? And then it would always just be excuses from that point on. And I was like, wait a minute, like, I was like, yo, I love you and like we're friends and we're cool, but like I want to actually help you. You came to me asking me like how can I like change in this area or grow in this area?
Yeah.
And you don't seem as interested as I'm interested for you to grow in this area. So I was
Yeah.
like this. So that at that point, I mean, I didn't necessarily like cut them off or say anything to them. Like I just readjusted the boundaries like mentally. Like I noted like after addressing that and taking in their response and everything they said, like I just noticed, I was like, okay, I have to adjust the boundaries with that because this is just like take. And there's no like, it's weird because sometimes like, especially like at the Voice, like we have peers, like we're peers to people, we're friends. We're not, it's not the leader student dynamic.
Right, yeah.
Like we're friends to friends. And so you don't ever want to like, it's weird. Like you want to figure out, okay, like, are we friends sharpening each other to grow and move forward together? Or am I like kind of in this leader pocket for you? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And I don't think there's a right or wrong with that because like you could lead someone like by walking through with them and then
Yeah.
after like they have that growth, then it's like then you can develop like a genuine friendship that's not the basis off of them fixing
Yeah.
this issue anymore. But some people kind of just like only see you as that leader, and then that's where it can only be taking if like if you thought there was a genuine friendship there, that's like,
Yeah.
oh, they only hit me up when they want to just like, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And then it's like, well, I thought you was my friend, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then it's not that, and then
Yeah.
it's the weird dynamic. But you want to be a good leader or a good, believer and sharpen them and encourage them and support them. But that's like, not that they're trying to suck the life out of you, but that's what I've experienced happen when it does happen.
Yeah.
So
I don't really know. I mean, when I was younger, I definitely probably had like a million people who sucked the life out of me because I was like a people pleaser, a conflict avoider. I was all of the bad things. And so I definitely had friends who, even though I like have a strong personality and like I didn't fall into peer pressure or anything, like they had maybe a stronger personality that was a little more manipulative. And since I was like a people pleaser, I was, I just do whatever made them happy. And then, I don't know, I feel like I've grown out of that. I did have like a friend once who kind of like would stay with me for like an extended period of time, and I would like pay for all their stuff and give them rides everywhere. And then when I was kind of tapped out, they would like go to another friend, and then a lot of us realized like, oh, so whenever like the bank has run dry, and then months and months and maybe years later kind of proven like that friendship was more one-sided.
Yeah. I've been like, I think just in my earlier years, just being a new leader, I would be like, yes, I'm giving my students everything. Here's this, here's that, my time and my advice. And then it got to the point that it was just I was giving them everything. So whenever I expected even just loyalty in return, they were like, I don't care. I'm in 6th grade. And I find myself, I was like, what am I doing? Like, I realized I was like, okay, you need to fix yourself. Like, it's my problem. Like, what am I doing giving 24/7 to a middle schooler when I just need to say no, like for real, like just say no, that it's fine. Matthew 6:21 states this: for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. How can this verse be applied to boundaries?
I love this verse so much.
Okay,
God,
never mind. We're just going to choose a different verse.
And that's all
you
the
got
time
too
we
excited.
have.
Thank you for joining us.
No, the reason I love this verse is because of how it can apply to boundaries, actually. So where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. It's almost like an equation, right? So sometimes as Christians, we wonder, like, why is it hard for me to love this thing about church? Or why is it hard for me to be invested in going to church or invest? Like, why is it hard for me to, give in my tithes and offerings, like whatever? It's like an equation where you put your resources, your heart's going to follow. Like, so for me and my own, I've noticed like, okay, I like video games, and I'm getting into like watching like certain like Netflix TV shows as well. What I notice is like, and it's really simple. It's just we don't think about it, but the Bible's brilliant, so it thinks about it for us.
Amen.
But the more
the
I do
gag.
those things, the more my heart follows those things. So if I wonder why, like, I remember a season in high school, like I found it so hard to go to extreme. Well, here's why. I was homeschooled. And so in all my spare time, I was focusing on like video games and extracurricular things to the point where when it came 7 o'clock, time to go to church, I have no investment in that. All of my
Yeah.
time and thoughts and resources are going into what I do for leisure.
Yeah.
So I have no desire to go to church. So it goes for boundaries in the sense that like, okay, if I know myself enough, I'm going to say, okay, I love fill in the blank. Okay, if I allot too much time to that, my heart's going to follow, and I'm going to not have my heart where I know it should be.
Yeah.
So boundaries need to be like, okay, whatever it is, man, I love watching sports. Okay, I'm going to watch like one sports game a week. Besides that, I'm not going to watch the ESPN stuff. I'm not going to watch all that. Why? Because my heart will follow it there.
Yeah.
So boundaries, it kind of goes back to self-awareness, like knowing that if I give too much to this direction, no matter how much I know the right thing to do is to want this, I'm going to go here because that's what
Yeah.
I'm giving to.
Yeah.
So that's where the boundaries come in.
I think of it from like a food perspective. I know that sounds weird, food perspective, but like
I like food, so go ahead.
yeah, in terms of like junk food, if you have a desire to like have better health in your body, but like the habit is to eat, junk food all the time, even if you do like whatever, like get the one random salad, that one time, it may not like shift the direction of your heart enough because you've spent so much time like digesting junk food all the
Right.
time. So when you think of food or when you want food or you're hungry, you will go for whatever like junk food that you usually typically have like built up. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you have to shift that balance of what like you actually desire because the goal is to be healthy. So if the goal is to be healthy, then junk food like naturally wouldn't be a part of that process
Right.
as much as like eating clean would be, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And so like that's how I kind of see it. So I break it down like that because you're very conscious of the food you eat all the time. So then if you think about like when you're hungry or whatever the case may be, like it's just like spiritually, like what am I feeding myself constantly? What am I going to constantly? What are my go-tos? And so that can really like I think with the scripture itself, it helps to identify like where your like heart is, before you try and like move it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Because then if you could figure out where your heart is like truthfully, then you could actually make the right adjustments
Exactly.
rather than just like, you know what I'm saying, some drastic whatever that you won't stick to or adhere to. But that's kind of how I see it.
I think that verse is sort of an ode to have boundaries because I don't know where your heart is. Like that's a really big deal, like
Yeah.
in life, and to know that you kind of can't control where your heart is. If you don't control where your treasure lies, that's also kind of scary because, I've heard people or even maybe me at some point in my life, like when people don't like the situation they're in or don't like maybe some kind of codependent relationship they've gotten themselves in and they complain about it. And then my advice is like, well, stop, stop doing it. Stop going there. Stop talking to them. And then it's like, well, I can't. I just can't do it. I can't.
Yeah.
So then my advice is like, well, you can't because you don't want to. Because
Right.
actually you have spent, it's just a fact. You spent so much time, maybe money, maybe, whatever on this person that you actually do want to be there now. And you
Right.
want to have this unhealthy thing going on and you just want it, not because it's maybe your desire like in its rawest form, but because you've given so much to
Yeah,
it, now it's
exactly.
something that you need.
Yeah.
There's a
Scary
book
thought.
called Boundaries that I read. It's like really, really good. And I got my definition from them. And I've preached on this a million times. It's not my quote.
Does it
It's
have
his
a
book.
line on it?
Yeah.
I know what you're
I mean,
talking about.
like a red
Yeah,
line.
yeah, I see that.
And in it defines boundaries as limiting what you get from others so you can get everything that you need from God. And I love that because it's limiting what I get from you, limiting what I get from my work, from money, limiting what I get from food,
Yeah.
everything so that I can get everything I need from
Wow,
God
that's
because
beautiful.
That's really
ultimately
I like that.
we need
Yeah.
100% dependence
Who
on
wrote that
Him.
book? That's fire.
Mr. Boundary. But it just reminds me because we don't always, and especially our personality types, if we're more codependent or we
Yeah.
have addictive personalities, or we're on the other spectrum, we're very cat-like and we're super independent,
Yeah.
that like we're fine never talking to anyone,
Yeah.
and then we're
That's
like, wait
still
a minute.
boundary to have.
Yeah, because God said, no, we're supposed to be together and you're
Right.
supposed to help me and we're
Yeah.
supposed to there's things that I
You're
need
too
from
good
you.
on your own. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think it's important to just have that like it helps us limit what we get from everyone so we can get everything that we need from God. It's a very, very positive word and positive perspective and
Yes.
outlook.
I like
I
that.
like it.
Before we wrap up, do you guys have final words, last words, final proverbs, inklings,
Parables.
I mean, just to float on the self-awareness thing.
float on it.
Just for a little bit, because
Yeah.
like
Oh.
because
Come
it's
on.
super, because everything we're talking about, especially in regards to other people, it's so much easier said than done.
Yes.
And it's so much easier to like identify, oh wow, that person's going to the wrong person, than it is to be the person going to the wrong person and stop doing it.
Yeah.
So like to just, I don't know, just for anyone listening, just the self-awareness aspect of it all, I promise you, comes from spending time in the presence of God. Like
Amen.
it's so real. I've seen it in my own life so many times. Like you do that, and instinctively you're gonna have like a negative whatever towards going to the people you shouldn't be going towards,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
for the amount of time you should be going towards them,
Yeah.
all of the above. So I just wanted to say that. I mean, it is easier said than done, but I promise you, spending time with God is I mean, there's a reason that we need to do it, and it's to be better in areas that we don't even know we need to be better
Yeah,
in.
that's
Yeah.
good.
That is good.
Practically off of that, because I love self-awareness. It's like, I think like a practical thing with what Jonathan's saying and spending time in the presence of God. Like one thing that I actively do is like, I think my thoughts through with the Holy Spirit. So like I spend time like I've worked to spend enough time in the presence of God to recognize the Holy Spirit, like when he's speaking to me or impressing on my heart, or when God is like impressing something on my heart, to where I can identify my thoughts separate from what God is saying. So that usually like, there's usually like a very stark difference between the two. But if you don't spend enough time to identify his voice, then it'll be very hard for you to be self-aware. And then you could rationalize your own thoughts telling you blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like practically get to that point, do that, and then think your thoughts through when you have like questions or concerns or like what ifs or should I's. And then in that time, so you're not just sitting in God's presence, you know what I'm saying? But like you're in his presence actively, like going through like the parts of your heart or the parts of your spirit or like your mind, so he can renew it, he can transform it, and he can like highlight things. That's one of my favorite prayers when nothing may be going wrong or everything's going wrong. I'm like God, highlight the areas I need to change, because I want him to highlight it so I can be self-aware to make a difference.
I think sometimes when we do have boundaries with people in our lives, we bring that into the presence of God, and we have boundaries with God.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're like,
Very
okay,
true.
God, you can't touch this and you can't fix this. And homie's up there being like, I'm the only one that can
Yeah.
fix
Right,
it.
yeah.
You know,
don't
like
even know.
I'm God.
Yeah.
It's me.
You know, like
you just got here.
God needs no boundaries from the inside
yeah.
out completely. Like,
Yeah.
come on in, sir. Have your way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very real.
Amen. Thank you, Jesus. Did we float enough? Or we
We
got to go back
floated
to
a
we
decent
floaties?
amount,
I'm floating
I
I
right
still
think-
have to
now.
wear a little floaties.
Yeah.
Summertime.
I
Summer
can't
comfort.
think my
swim,
arms
so
will
I
fit
need to
in that.
float.
You really can't swim?
I cannot swim, but that's for another time. Tune in next time.
You really cannot swim.
Yeah, genuinely, I can't swim.
Are you just saying that?
Did
Because
you ever
Mike says,
try?
Pastor
I
Michael
kind of
says that, and he
can't
really
either, though.
can swim.
like? I can't. I don't know how.
Episode 3 is going to come from a lake. We're going to throw you,
You
in a
never
pool.
took swimming lessons.
We're gonna do like a
no,
sermon.
Yeah,
That-
I mean,
I didn't
okay,
take
Jesus
so
save him.
I mean, I
I
grew up
took
in
'em.
Oklahoma. I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
They
so
don't
like,
have water.
Well, they do, but we don't go to the beach because that would be a.
What about a pool?
What about
I mean,
like the
we go to pools,
YMCA?
but like I just be chilling.
I
like,
can't really swim either.
You know what I'm saying? And
I expend a
okay,
lot
I
of
don't
Well,
believe
you're
you. I
tall
don't
enough
believe
for
you.
all
Yeah, I don't
pools
believe you.
ever
I
in the
believe you
ocean.
can stand
There's
in the deep end and be like, I don't see the problem, guys.
That's
Like,
why he can't swim. He's like, there's nothing deep enough for him to like
I'm
get
too
in.
tall for
Legs,
every
They're all
body of water.
puddles.
No,
It's
yeah.
horrible, man.
But yeah, it's
Bad
just,
life.
like treading water has just never been a concept that I really.
Have you tried?
Well, because I'm too old to like trust it now.
No, you're never too old.
Well, okay, right. You know
Pastor
what I'm saying?
Kaiman on Sunday said we're never too old.
Like
We're
I'm
never
too
old.
old to like
Go like
have
this?
to. You know how like when you're a kid, you don't recognize fear as well as an adult would, so you could just kind of just be in the pool.
Just
and,
take Jonathan, and then if you start drowning, he'll just bend down.
Well,
and
He's like
I
the
mean-
best floaty.
Yeah.
he could be a lifeguard,
You
like
are a
without
floaty?
taking the test.
I'm not that tall.
Yeah.
You're taller than anyone in the world.
Man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever.
Okay, Kaimana, you get to pick who gets the next fortune
Oh.
cookie.
David.
Oh, okay. What does this mean? Call it. You can't pretend you're gonna read it. This is not real.
Okay.
What is it? This is-
something about.
I'm pregnant.
Oi.
No.
That happens.
What was it last time? Last
Last
episode?
it was her
I don't
future,
know.
her family, her kids in the next
Yeah,
couple
They
yeah.
months.
said I was gonna be rich
I think
and
this
famous.
is about your work and life in the next couple months.
I think so
Come
too.
on.
Can I
Work
steal
life.
that?
Okay,
Yeah,
so
no,
that's
Okay.
that's also what
Work
I
and
think.
life,
with
yes.
Oh, okay. Well,
Work and life.
It now has.
He's gonna get a
to be.
cat and a dog.
Cat dog.
All right. All right. I'll do this for you guys so you can hear it.
Oof, read that.
How's
Secret
that?
sound.
How's
the
That
sound?
was a good secret sound.
Ooh, what does it sound like? Okay. All right. It
Read the
says,
Chinese.
If your cookie is in 2 pieces, the answer is yes. Oh wait.
What?
Yeah.
That's it?
Well, my cookie is in 2 pieces. So,
So the
So
answer
what
is
was
yes.
So
Your
the answer-
question.
You're-
am I pregnant? that was the question.
It was our prediction
No,
about
ours
your
is about your
work.
life.
So yes.
So it's
you're
yes
gonna
and
get yeses
amen.
to all your work
in
stuff.
Christ.
Next
Hey,
few
you know
it's
months.
what?
yes and amen.
Yes.
There you
Yes.
go.
All
Amen.
promises
Yes.
in
Amen.
Christ.
And amen.
Hallelujah.
Oh, I like it. One
There
for
we
each piece of
go.
the
Eat
cookie.
it?
That's
Maybe I'll
perfect.
learn how to swim. Should
Thank
I
you
eat
so
it?
much
That's fine.
for
Eat
joining us on episode 2. We will be back with
Absolutely.
episode 3 in a few weeks.
Yeah, I'm just chewing.
Episode.
I'm
Do
sorry.
it. Go ahead. Chew away.
All right.
It's been awesome. See you next time.
Awesome.
Peace
Later.
out.
Thank you for checking out the VoiceCast Summer Conversations. Tune in next time for episode 3.